Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I'm joined by Brandon Anderson for some best bets for NFL Week 8. We will get to those best bets shortly, but first, we've got some fun trends and talking points that I want to get to before we move on. So number one, and me and Brandon kind of went over this before we started here because we really want to hit on the stuff that we're interested in at the moment. And I'm not sure how you talk about anything else but the Indianapolis Colts. So let me just give you a few facts, and obviously Brandon will give us some analysis on what he thinks afterwards. But right now, Daniel Jones knows something about overcoming expectations because he's doing it currently. Colts are 6-1. They entered the year with a win total of 7.5. Now, the only recent example of a team starting 6-1 with a win total below 8 were the Giants in 2022, who started 6-1, win total of 7, of course, led by Daniel Jones as well. Just absolutely ridiculous hearing these things. I'll give you one more, which I put in my article this week, but this just proves, I think, what he's doing, A, in play action, but B, under pressure to kind of help this offense move along and be so efficient in their drives. So Daniel Jones, 82 dropbacks under pressure. His 62.7 completion percentage is second in the NFL to Dak. But what's ridiculous is he has no turnover-worthy plays in his 82 dropbacks under pressure. And the ridiculous stat is the fact that the next closest quarterback to Jones in dropbacks with 0 turnover-worthy plays is Joe Burrow with 20. He hasn't played since the middle of week 2. So that's what Daniel Jones is doing here. I'll let Brandon, before I give you my other one, any just comment on what you think Indianapolis is doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're just mowing teams down right now, and they are, 14 and a half point favorites against Tennessee. Obviously, it should be another big win for them. I tweeted this out. So here's my one concern with the Colts. They just can't be any better than they've been so far, and the schedule gets a lot tougher going forward. So even including the game to come, so far this season, the Colts have faced by DVOA the 19th hardest schedule, and obviously that number is going to get even softer once you play Tennessee this week. From here forward, including Tennessee, they face the toughest schedule of their offense against defenses going forward. And defensively, same thing. They face the second easiest schedule defensively. They jump to 13th toughest forward. And again, that still counts Tennessee in the hard part to come. So once you factor the Titans game in, or just do the stat after the weekend, you're probably looking at a top 10 tough defensive schedule and the number 1 tough offensive schedule. And it's so good, and Daniel Jones has been so good, and the play action and Jonathan Taylor, like everything is going so right. Every number is an outlier, that the only concern for me is it can't get better. It has to regress to the mean some, and they're so good so early. What happens now when we get to some of these tougher games? And, by the metrics, they're like 40-50% for the 1 seed right now in a lot of models out there, which is crazy. We didn't even know if this was a playoff team or contender, really. So what will happen once the regression comes a little bit? And will it start to come even against Tennessee? Does it matter against Tennessee? I'll have a little bit on that game later.
Yeah, nothing like a 14.5 point spread for Daniel Jones. If I would have told you that in the preseason, I don't know what you would have said. My last note here is something you kind of want to talk about, and it's been talked about by really anyone trying to handicap spreads this week, is how large the numbers are. So with 13 games, we have 8 games with a spread of 6 or more. I went just back to 2020. So this would be the fifth highest percentage since 2020 for a given week when it comes to spreads 6 or higher. So it does happen kind of frequently. It's not that crazy, but it is the second earliest in a season we've had this high of a number since 2020. So we're getting these high numbers early in the year this year with maybe some of these teams playing pretty poorly, some quarterback injuries. And all other weeks on the list had 14 plus games. We have 13 this week. So it's a little dramatic in the case that we have 8 such games. But in terms of all these big spreads, and I said this on the favorites when we recorded that earlier, that I just felt like all the favorites this week, all those 6+ point favorites, have like flaws. Like I feel like there's something to poke into with each of those teams, which and probably on the dog side as well. But usually these favorites are more concrete. They feel better to the better in terms of taking them and having to lay the points. But when you're talking about like Flacco, Atlanta, what Buffalo's done recently, Philly doesn't blow anybody out, like the Colts, it just one by one, I think you kind of understand what I mean. So what do you think about this, Brandon?
Yeah, I feel like these like 6, 7, 8 point spreads, especially, they feel a lot more about the underdog than the overdog, right? Like,
Sure.
I don't know that's necessarily like, oh yeah, you know who I believe in is Atlanta right now. It's like, well, but I believe in Miami sucking. I can believe in that right now. So what if that keeps happening? And it's tricky. I think it's a real minefield out here. Like, if you're in a survivor contest, you're probably down to what the bottom like 20, 25% of the people remaining. There's a lot of what look like good picks this week. Like, oh, well, let me just check off Atlanta and get rid of them, or maybe Philadelphia, cross them off my list. Well, there's a reason you don't want to use them the other weeks. And are you sure that this is the week for those sorts of teams? Not those two in particular. Just I noticed now, as I do, and we'll talk about my pick six column in just a minute. But early in the week, I'm having to identify, okay, who are some of the favorites, money lines I just want to lock in. Like, all right, well, I know this team's going to win. And so I'm looking at a bunch of these. It's like, man, normally I've been picking a few of those touchdown favorites. But yeah, you look at Atlanta and you're like, well, but what if this happens? You look at Philly, what if this happens? Buffalo, Carolina, well, what if Carolina matches up this way right now? And yeah, you can really find a flaw or a matchup. Like in a lot of cases, like, okay, Colts Titans, for example. How did the Titans win? I don't know. I don't know how the Titans won because the football is weirdly shaped. Like, I can't paint a case for you on that. I might try to later. But many of the games, you can sort of close your eyes and imagine, okay, well, the Bills aren't very good at this thing. And so the Panthers kind of picked at it, and now it's close. And now look what happened later. Like, you can imagine how some of these upsets come out. So it's a very tricky week. It's tricky for picking ATS. It's hard to cover these tough spreads. We're seeing a lot of late comebacks and backdoor covers. So I had a hard time choosing picks this week. I actually have on today's podcast no ATS picks, just traditional. I have one for the look ahead. I kind of got creative, and so I ended up going with more longer shot angles today. We're like, okay, if I think this angle, how do I think it more aggressively and find something there? So I think it's a unique week. So I would encourage you to be cautious and either maybe bet slightly smaller units this week with caution, or maybe more aggressive on the longer lines. Probably a little bit of both is what I'll end up doing.
Well, thank God it is National Tight Ends Week, National Tight Ends Day, whatever you want to call it. So our sponsor, DraftKings, I'm sure, will have a ton of bets and offerings in that area. But before we move on, don't forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Brandon Anderson, myself, our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro. Get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20, POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro. Use promo code POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. All right, let's get to some best bets. So if you want to tell these best bets, just look in the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/betnow, BETNOW, bet now. All the bets listed there, just quick slip links, click, takes you right to the sportsbook. All right, let's start with Brandon's pick six, which, listen, if you're going to start a brand new column here at Action Network and do something completely different, and you're going to do it for the first time, maybe like 5-6 weeks into the season, you might as well win the bet to get some attention. Brandon hits a plus 630 parlay on 6 money lines. This week, Brandon, you're adding some dogs. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's because we got all those big favorites. And I'm looking at like all these 7-point favorites range. If you pick 6 of those teams, you're going to get like a plus 300. I don't need a 3-1 parlay on 6 different games I got to sweat all day long when I can see all the flaws in these teams. So I'm going to, take a little more risk here. I went with 2 underdogs this week on the money line. We already did one of them on the Hot Read Sunday night. Rah Mike Tomlin, Sunday night Pittsburgh. And then Dallas against Denver. I'm trying for a 3rd week in a row, money line against Denver. What could possibly go wrong? So those are the 2 underdogs that are going to juice our parlay. Then I added a Ravens first half money line, and then Eagles and Bucks, and then Monday night Chiefs to hopefully get us out on a nice easy one on Monday. All that together is about a 20-1 parlay for this week. So it's a little bit longer odds. We'll see if we can keep. Is one a streak? Sure, it's a streak. Let's keep the streak going. The extra point from my article on our pick six, we'll get to that a little bit later on in the Ravens game. And I think today's picks kind of reflect what I did with the pick six of like, all right, let's get a little more aggressive, but then maybe a little less aggressive on unit size. So I think if you are listening or watching, if you're a parlay bettor, I know we love to throw some of the long shots together. I think this is a great episode for that. Like pick 3 or 4 long shots on here. I haven't mentioned tight ends day. I've got seven tight end props coming up for you. And just for you, I put them all together into one parlay that has like 20,000 to 1 odds or something that we will end with the flourish. So this is a good episode. Just sprinkle some long shots and see what we can find this weekend.
I mean, if you're going to hit a 6 to 1 shot, you might as well hit a 20 to 1. All right, let's keep going here to our first bet. And you're right. Like everything you were kind of looking at in that column kind of gets sprinkled into a lot of these bets. So we're going to start with Denver and Dallas. What are you doing in this game?
Yeah, so I like Dallas. I do like the spread or the money line like we had in that bet. But what I like even better is the team total. So I'm going to go Cowboys over 23.5. Keep fading the Broncos. I'm going to keep getting my heart broken, I guess, on all these comebacks. But guess what? I don't need to win this bet. I can just score some points. And that is exactly why I'm on the team total and escalator here. Our reads against Denver have been right. This is the right team to be fading right now. We're not hitting the money line on those, but we're still profiting as we're getting the ATS. I don't mind the ATS. 3.5 here, I think, should not be above the key number. This feels very much like one of those last team with the ball win situations. Unfortunately, Denver's got a horseshoe up their butt and has the ball last and keeps winning all these games. And I think, honestly, if Dallas is going to win, I think they're going to have to score 24 and probably a bunch more than that anyway. So I like this angle a lot better. We can avoid the Dallas defense whatsoever. And I am happy to bet against Denver, not necessarily just the offense. That's been a lot of the fade the last couple weeks. This specifically is fading what I think is kind of a fraudulent defense. I think this is a front-running Denver defense that it is exposed when they face top offenses. They've only faced this year one top offense. It's the top offense, Indianapolis. They gave up 473 yards in that game and 29 points. Should have been more, too. The Colts got a little unlucky. If you go back in the last calendar year, 6 times the Broncos have faced a top 12 DVOA offense. They're averaging 29.2 points a game allowed in those contests. They've allowed a 30, a 31, a 34, a 41. This defense consistently gets cooked against top quarterbacks. They're great when they're ahead and they can just release Nick Bonito on all pass rushers and Vance Joseph's guys come after you. But they're kind of getting cooked a little bit by top teams. Dak is cooking right now. CD is back. And I think Denver's bad offense is kind of suppressing the total. So you take the total, you add in Denver being favored, and I think that's buying us some value on the Dallas team total. It's just math at that point. Over 23.5, Dallas is 5-2 to that number. They're averaging this season almost 400 yards a game offensively. 4 games, they've scored 37 points or more. So let's take the escalator. Over 23.5, it's minus 105 at our sponsor, DraftKings. Why take the 150 money line when I can play 154 over 26.5? Just get the points. I don't care if you go with the points. Dallas, you can lose, you can win, whatever. And then 30 points or more, plus 290. Denver has allowed that in 4 of those 6 games against a top offense. And then last part of the escalator is 35 or more, plus 575. One last note, one more edge here. We're in Denver with my guy Brandon Aubrey. Can I bet on like a 70-yard field goal this week? Or like, I don't know. I want to see what those props are. If you find some crazy Brandon Aubrey props, hit me on Twitter and we'll see if we can add those in. But I think it's worth noting, maybe in the halftime or something, this could be like a free 3 or 6 points that teams should not get, that we just get to add to our team total here. So I love Dallas. This is my favorite spot of the week.
Yeah, that Aubrey note's probably noteworthy, considering you're going to be watching this game, and anytime Dallas has the ball and the first half and the game, like those situations, you're just going to be able to get points from almost anywhere. The one I love the most here is the fact that Dallas is just playing so well. Like, I think the streak could come to an end, like 4 straight overs, 4 straight games without a turnover. Lots of things going really right in Dallas. But one thing that doesn't have to change is the offense. So I will say one thing. If they're on 23 points, it is nice to score a touchdown and win 3 bets at 23.5, 26.5, and 29.5. So that could be fun if it happens. All right. This is a very similar bet in a very similar situation, except for the fact that the spread's 17 points different. But Colts, Titans. I mean, how do you even consider playing this game? Because I feel like what you're going to tell me right now is a scary proposition, but you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm going to play the Colts, and I'm going to play the team total here. Similar to Dallas, the total is at 30.5. So yeah, I similarly to what you said, I go through every game every week, and I'm like, okay, what are my angles? Can I try the spread? Is there a total? What's the prop angle I like? This is the exact sort of game that I usually am just like, yeah, nothing. This game stinks, so we don't need to get anything on this. Like, you don't want to be sitting on a minus 14.5 ticket, and the Colts are up 16 with the Titans have the ball in the 4 minutes left. And you're like, what am I doing with my life here? But I think the Colts should score. So you can't get two teams going in more opposite directions, obviously. We talked about the Colts at the top. Number one offense by DVOA. Offense, or passing and rushing, number one. The Titans offense, by the way, is dead last, 32nd. The defense isn't quite so bad, except they might be now. They just lost Jeffrey Simmons, who, despite being on the Titans, has been getting DPOY conversation. That's how good he's playing for them. He's out now. Cornerback Jerry Sneed is out. I think this defense is going to really crater here. Jonathan Taylor, by the way, is minus 400 for a touchdown in this game. We keep playing touchdown running backs against the Titans. I don't know. It seems free, but minus 400 is not going to grab my attention. Titans defense is allowing 27.5 points a game. That includes 41 to the Colts. They played the Colts already in week 3. They lost 41-20. Colts offense, I think this number just barely gives us value. Colts have scored 29 or more points in 6 of their 7 games. So 29, 31, 33, 38, 40, and 41. Our number is 30.5. So we need to get to 31 points, minus 109. And just a little bit on the escalator. There's not a lot of value here because the number is so high already. 35 points is plus 180. 40 points, the highest I could see there was a plus 375. But one more thing to add on, and I'm going to do this like 3 or 4 times on this podcast, even though it feels counterintuitive, because again, it's a weird week. I said at the top, what's the avenue for the Titans to win? Well, here's the stat for you. Since 2018, if you just blind play any NFL moneyline underdog, that's anywhere between plus 750 and plus 1,000. The Titans are plus 900 right now. Those teams are 4-14. That's real bad. That's like a number 1 pick in the draft, but it's also 106% ROI. And here's the problem. Until the week 3 game, this rivalry has had 8 straight single-digit games. Just keeping it close. And I think the number is inflated. I have Colts minus 11.5. So that doesn't seem like much value. But using our spread calculator into Moneyline at Action Network, you can find that on our app. Minus 11.5 would be a plus 450 Moneyline. We're getting a 9-1 Moneyline. That's double the payout of what we should be getting of what I think this game should be priced at. So do I think the Titans are going to win? No. Do I think they have any way? I don't even know how they would win. I don't know what would happen. And even though I'm playing all the team totals, and look, the Titans are going to win 42-41. We're not going to hit everything together. But I am going to play just a little bit on the 9-1 Titans money line because history says when the number gets that long in the NFL, you just take a shot.
I don't hate your shot. Every week I say to myself, how can Daniel Jones lose this game? And he does the absolute complete opposite from what I've known him to do throughout the years. So I completely understand trying to take 2 extremes here. I think it's probably the right way to go. I just looked at DraftKings to try to see if there was some last touchdown props. They don't look like they're up yet. But one thing I would be interested in is like Amir Abdullah last touchdown, or I see Amir Abdullah's second half touchdown, and it looks like 550 and 6-1. So maybe that's something of interest. The other angle, and I was going to use this stat off the top, but I'll go here with it. So Colts have scored 232 points, lead the NFL right now, through 7 games. The last time we had a team with a win total below 8 score that many points through 7 games was 1999. And wow. That in that sense, I'm sorry, the other angle there would be a team with over 500. It happened in 2002 with the Chiefs. They were 3-4, but 99 happened twice with the Rams and Washington that year. So right now, in terms of where we projected Indy and what they're doing, almost unprecedented. So at this rate, I think the idea of doing an outlier kind of makes sense because they're either going to win this game by a ridiculous margin, or you're going to turn around and it's going to be close in the fourth quarter, and you're probably going to be happy you just had the ticket. So,
well, and that's a little bit of what I'm doing when I kind of go both sides on some of these. Is like, all right, well, if I'm wrong, if the Colts don't score their 30 this week for whatever reason, I think that they will. But if they don't, something went wrong. Maybe something's Daniel Jones. Like, get good on Daniel Jones that I can't come up with a reason of why the Colts would lose. And it was him. It's him staring at me. Like, that's the reason, probably. If they don't, if they only score like 20, all right, well, maybe that's why the Titans win. Maybe they found a fluke pick six or something along the way, and that's the reason. So I think some of these are like almost the opposite of an escalator of like, well, what if my bet is wrong? How could I kind of cover my tracks a little bit and maybe kind of get it back anyways?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, probably a huge game. That's probably one of the ways Indianapolis rolls away, but we'll see what happens. All right. New England and Cleveland is the center of this game, but you are looking more towards the running back position. What are you doing from the prop market?
I am. A rare under for me on the podcast. I don't take a lot of prop unders. I know those are the more profitable ways. I just don't find them a lot of fun. I like looking for overs. But we took Ramondre Stevenson last week for a touchdown. This week I'm going to fade him under 17.5 rushing attempts against the Browns. So the Patriots are playing really well. We know that. They have played, though, a very, very soft schedule. Their offense has faced the second easiest schedule so far by DVOA. Here's some of the teams they've played. The Raiders, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Saints, the Titans. Like, man, they have had it easy so far. Probably their toughest opponent defensively is the Bills. The Bills, who we saw the Ravens score like 1,000 points on the opener, that's the toughest defense New England has faced, who they beat, by the way. Cleveland is easily the toughest test that they will have faced so far. And we'll see. Drake May is looking great, but we'll see how he looks with an offensive line against Myles Garrett and all these guys. And Browns have the number one run defense by DVOA. So that brings to this angle. Patriots have not run the ball well all season at all. They're second to last in run offense DVOA. They're great passing, and maybe they'll pass here. I'm not playing the spread. I don't like either side here, but I think this is a fade for Ramondre and just not getting a lot of volume on the runs. He did go over the 17.5 last week. He had 18 carries, so he went over by the hook. Trevion Henderson had only 2. Probably that split won't be quite as pronounced usually, but outside of last week, Stevenson had 13 carries or less every other game on the season, average 8.5. Our pro projection has 13 carries for Stevenson. That's about what it looks like for Brown's defense too. Week 1, they had 21 carries from Chase Brown, 43 yards, not great. Ever since then, teams were like, hey, what if we don't run 20 times against the Browns? And the lead running back has had 11 to 16 carries every time, going under this number all the times, average 13 carries a game. So I think 13 is about right. 17.5 is way too high. I'm just not sure the Patriots are going to give me chances to play with the lead and try to run the clock out here. So Ramondre Stevenson under 17.5 carries.
Nothing to really say except I have no faith in Vrabel to give Trevion Henderson any carries. So the carries, hopefully not to Ramondre Stevenson, but that guy is just living in a doghouse right now. So we will see what happens there. All right, let's keep rolling here. Baltimore and the Bears. A lot of people have a different opinion on this game. The favorites, they're split. We talked about it earlier on the pod. I feel like there's like a different sentiment based off of what you think Baltimore is right now and a lot of their players coming back from health. So how are you dispersing this game?
Yeah, I know Stucky usually has a good pulse for where the Ravens are at. He's heavy on them for this game, assuming health. It looks like they're getting a lot healthier. Lamar Jackson is limited practicing. I don't know if we're to be encouraged by that. I almost feel discouraged. Like, you just had a bye week. You haven't played for a few weeks. So how limited are we? Is this a smoke screen? What's the smoke screen? Like, are you going to scare me with Cooper Rush coming into the game here or something? Like, I don't really get it. So it is very much a kitchen sink spot for the Ravens. Like, they got to have this. You're 1-5. You're coming off the bye week. You're probably never going to be healthier than at this spot right here. And it's not just Lamar. Like, he's going to get all the attention. But I'm going to look at Patrick Ricard, the fullback, has not played all season. And look how Derrick Henry has struggled to run this season. I think getting Ricard back, blocking, clearing out those huge holes that Henry can hit. And once he hits the hole, if you haven't got a hand on him yet, like you're trucked after that. Like it's not happening for you. He's flying right through you. Ronnie Stanley back on the line. Isaiah Likely has been back, but should be full speed now. More heavy tight end sets. That's Ravens football. That's Derrick Henry football. Bears run defense has not been that great this season. And then defensively, I'm a little less confident, honestly, about the Ravens defensively getting healthy. But Cal Hamilton is healthy. There was talk before the bye week of we're going to move him around. We're going to put him in a new spot. That's Zach Orr's solution. Whenever things go wrong with the defense, just put Kyle Hamilton at a new position. He's really good. He'll figure it out. We'll fix everything. They traded for Alohi Gilman at safety. I just think coming out of the bye, we're going to see kind of a new look Ravens right off the bat that the Bears haven't had a chance for. So I haven't said the pick yet. I'm going to go with Ravens first half here. It's -3.5. Now it's -102 at DK, our sponsor. So I get near even odds. I don't mind if you want to wait a little bit. Maybe the injury news moves this a little bit, just enough to get us to 2.5 instead of 3.5. Or frankly, maybe Lamar doesn't play, and then we don't want it anymore. I want no part if Lamar is out. So you can wait. We're going to lose much from 3.5 the other direction. But here's why first half only. Lamar off the bye week, actually not great. 2-5 ATS in his career, and not great as a 3 to 10 point home favorite in his career either. Only 8-20-1 ATS. So I'm skipping the whole game. I don't want the back door. I don't trust the defense quite enough just yet. And Ben Johnson's offense, finding some answers late, I don't really want it. So back to the first half Ravens. That's always the play with this team. Lamar, for his career, 60, 36-2 ATS in the first half, 63%. And this is just a good team agnostic spot. Home favorites, 7 points or less after the bye week. First half ATS, 57%. It's not a huge number, but that's on like 170 games, and it's a very tried and true trend. So you like the home rested team early. It's now or never for the Ravens. If they come out flat in this game, it's never. So I have to give them some credit here, and then we'll get out at halftime and see what happens from there.
I don't know if there's ever been more pressure on a team in the first half of a game. The way that this is being built, I mean, I hear it from Stuckey. I'm here. Everyone who is putting their, beans in the bag for Baltimore this week. I am more fascinated to watch how this game starts, especially if there's no Lamar, you throw everything out the window. But if they're going to suit him up, especially after limited, like when are we going to actually see him ready to? I'm more thinking he's not going to play at this point because we just haven't seen him at full speed, ready to roll, and we're getting super close to Sunday. So I don't know what the line's going to be, but this one is just a little bit odd to me. I will say this. I don't want to look, for like a stat purposes, I don't want to look exactly at the number because I feel like it's a little weird. But the one I do feel good with your bet, Lamar is 32-12 first half money line, teams above 500. So basically, if you think Chicago is who they are, he usually shows up in this spot. And I put this in my article, pretty good against coaches in situations that haven't seen him before.
Yep.
And on that first half money line above 500, they're 8-1 versus the NFC, which makes sense.
Yep.
Team usually hasn't seen him as well. So I feel like that spot does lean here. One other angle you kind of have on this game, you have a bunch of futures in terms of Baltimore. Now, listen, and this is kind of the point, right? Like if Baltimore wins this game, there is a butt ton of value to be had in a ton of different things from Baltimore's standpoint. If they lose, it's over. But this mostly over, truthfully. But This is the time to buy in. So how are you buying into Baltimore?
Yeah, so this does feel like a swing spot. The problem is, I think a lot of the obvious high-end futures, like maybe a Lamar MVP ticket or a Super Bowl or an AFC ticket, I don't feel like we're getting a lot of value there. The division ticket, like it feels like books have also been agreeing for weeks. Like, yeah, Baltimore's fine. They're going to be fine. They're going to be right in this all the way. I don't really see a lot of the postseason type futures having a lot of value. What I do like are a couple of stat futures. So these were from my extra point in the Pick 6 article. You can kind of read the whole case there. Ravens so far have faced the number one toughest schedule by offense and by defense. So it's not just all the injuries. Like they have had a murderer's row schedule. Going forward, they face the 27th schedule offensively and the 31st defensive schedule. So they have a super, super soft schedule going forward, especially comparatively. I think it sets up well for stats for the team. I don't know if they can, they remind me of a setup similar to the Bengals last year, where it's like, oh man, you'd hate to have to face the Bengals in the playoffs. Well, turns out you didn't, because the first month counts also. But Joe Burrow sure put up a lot of stats down the stretch. And I think maybe Henry and Lamar could do that. So talked about getting the fullback back and the tackle and the heavy sets, tight ends. Even with the bad start for Henry, pretty quiet, he's still on pace for 1,244 yards. Like, that's not a bad number. He's still top 10 yards per game. And his career has been the same thing year after year. He's slow in September. He ramps up in the fall. He's a beast in December and January. He's always his best when the defense wears down. And I think he's going to be set up well and more rested here to have a big home stretch. So you can play 1,250 yards at minus 150. And again, he's on pace for that already, even with a bad start. 1,500 yards is just over 3-1. He's at that for the last 5 healthy seasons. And I think, we talked about Jonathan Taylor, we probably need a Taylor injury a little bit. But I think 14-1 for Derrick Henry to be the rushing yards leader could be in play. We're going to need to catch up to Taylor. But if it's not Taylor, I think the field gets pretty wide open, and Henry's going to have some monster games coming up here. I like even better Lamar Jackson passing touchdowns. So far, he's only played 4 games, but he has 10 passing touchdowns. That's pretty good so far. If you pace that out for the whole season, even with his missed games, he's on pace for 38 touchdowns. Our leader, Matt Stafford, has played all season. He's on pace for 41. So Lamar is so good passing touchdowns so far that even with his missed time, he's still on pace to only be 3 off the lead at the end of the season. And both of these guys, we kind of get a sneaky bit of value with the early bye because it looks like they're further down the stat chart than they actually are. Lamar has had an outlier touchdown rate twice already before, including last year. So that's where he's at now. I think he can do it again. If you want to do the stair step again, 30 touchdowns passing is plus 105, 35 is plus 420. I prefer to go for the kill on this one because we know Lamar could get hurt again or maybe just not even be healthy now. I don't necessarily want the median outcomes. If he's going to be good, if he's going to play like MVP ball, I don't know if he can win MVP with 5 losses already, but he could get a lot of stats like Joe Burrow last year. 30-1 at DraftKings to lead the league in passing touchdowns. He's right there already, and I think he could really get there if the Ravens make a big push.
Yeah, the funny thing is about the MVP thing you discussed before that is, I mean, the 10 touchdowns and 1 interception just sets him up for, like, if Baltimore happened to win a few games and he went on a run here where he didn't throw some picks and threw some touchdowns, the numbers would look ridiculous, especially when he's starting this, campaign now with a passer rating of 130. Like, it just from here, It's going to get ridiculous. I like the Lamar bet better.
Me too.
You have less hurdles to get to where you want to go. With Henry, not only are you 150 yards back from the guy behind Taylor, but then you need something to happen to Taylor. So
I think I like the Lamar 30-1 leader bet better. I think I like the Henry median outcomes better for him.
Yeah.
So if you want to just do parts of those, I think Henry to get a positive outcome, Lamar to get the huge outcome would be the way to go.
Like that a lot. All right, let's keep rolling here. Falcons and Dolphins is the game. You have a prop in this game. Now, the first thing, I think all of us who handicap these games go game by game and then, look for the angles and kind of go from there. The second you get to Atlanta, Miami, you think of Miami's rush defense and you think of Bijan and this guy. So how are you kind of dealing with Algier and Bijan and attacking this Miami rush defense?
Yeah, I'm going to take Algier here. I'm going to kind of pivot from Bijan because I think the second that the books got to this game, they also were thinking we'd be thinking Bijan, and they priced it in accordingly. We've got some crazy rushing props out there. Taylor's over 100 yards this week, just the over-under. Bijan is not too far behind. So I guess, first of all, in this game, we talked about this at the top. We're sure the Falcons should be a touchdown favorite, like against anybody right now. This team is really hot and cold. They've only scored over 24 once all season. Take that game out, they're averaging 15 points a game in their other games. So I'm not sure that they are reliable enough that we should feel confident in them. Miami has a huge special teams advantage here as well. I make this game closer to 3 points by the numbers. Now, that's gross because the Dolphins feel terrible. And it's like, are you going to fire your coach already? What's happening right now? Nobody wants the Dolphins right now. But by that number, it should be like plus 140, 150 for the Dolphins. It's plus 350 instead. So I'm going to pre-offset my bet with a Dolphins plus 350 on the money line. But if Atlanta does win the game, I think it's not just Bijan. I think it's Tyler Algier. So I want him. If you look at his splits in wins and losses, since the start of last season, in losses, 12 of them, he averages just under 6 carries a game, 28.5 yards a game. In 11 wins, that goes up to 11.3 rushes a game for 46 yards. Bijan's the guy. Bijan's going to break the game open. He's going to run for a 70-yard touchdown, do all the crazy awesome stuff that I like watching. Algier is the guy they close games with. They just pound into oblivion the opposing defense. In those 11 wins with the Falcons last 2 seasons, 32 rushing yards or more in 8 of the 11. So that's kind of what the floor has been for him in a win. Only 4 times he's had that in a loss. So very good kind of bellwether of how did the team do? Check Algier's stats. So over 39.5 rushing yards, so 40 yards or more. That's the bet for Tyler Algier. I'm not going to go too crazy high on the yards because, frankly, I don't even think Tyler Algier is that good of a running back. Like, he doesn't break a lot of tackles. It's mostly just volume up the middle. So we'll go 50 yards plus 158. He's had that in 5 of the 11 wins for Atlanta. So this is, to me, trying to approximate a Falcons money line, but the money line is like minus 400, and we're hopefully getting some positive odds here. And then 3 of those games out of the 11 wins, he does have 15 carries or more, all in wins by 7 or more points. So if we think Atlanta wins easily here, which is the thing we think about the game, 15 carries is plus 850. I think that number is a little bit too high for what the script usually is in a Falcons blowout sort of win. So Algier 40 yards and 50 yards, 15 carries at plus 850. But in case I'm wrong and the Falcons don't win, Dolphins plus 350 money line. I'm doing both sides again because I don't really know what's going to happen here. So I kind of want the long angles on both of them.
Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing here because I would never turn around to myself and say I want the points with Miami or I want the points with Tennessee because it's just the chance of blowout based off of what we've seen so far just feels so much higher. So like having the outlier on the other side, at least as like a pull before fall lever, seems pretty decent to me. I mean, from Miami's defensive standpoint, which is kind of what I alluded to off the top, they've allowed 34 10-plus yard rushes, most in the NFL. And to me, the one that's going to lead Algier to getting to where he wants to go, 3 yards after contact per rush for Miami, which is tied with Buffalo for actually the most in the NFL because Buffalo can't stop anything on the ground either. So I like the look here. The other interesting thing is San Francisco and Atlanta the other night. I feel like if you watch that game, you get a lot of shots of Bijan on the sideline and Algier being the running back in the game. So they do kind of go back and forth more than probably Bijan owners would like to see. All right. Last game here before we get to our lightning round. Houston and San Francisco. Now, there is a ton of injuries to kind of be keeping track of to try to figure out how to handicap this game. And the line is kind of flipped 1.5 either way. We're still waiting, I believe, on official status on Nico Collins. But I've been fading San Francisco basically since they put the roster together. So you tell me what we're doing here.
Yeah, I really wanted to back the Texans here, but there's so many injuries both ways. It's really hard to know where to go. Like you said, I don't know if we're going to see Nico. We don't know which Niners quarterback. We don't know which receivers. We do know they're going to be missing a lot of defensive guys. So San Francisco, I now have in my roster matrix as the number 31 defense the rest of the way. Oof. It's ahead of Dallas, and that's it. Nick Bosa out, Fred Warner out. They're missing other guys. They're missing one of their top corners, couple defensive linemen. This was a defense that I was a little bit high on before this season. I had them in my top 10, but it was a leap of faith. Not a lot of talent on the defense. It was a bet on Robert Saleh, who I think, frankly, has done a great job with the talent, but they're just running out of guys right now. And I think the defense could get a little bit exposed here. Texans offense, we know, has not been good, but they have scored twice and won games against the Titans, against the Ravens, 2 teams that are bottom of the league defensively. So if that's what the Niners are now, could this be a game where the Texans, I don't know if it's a get right. I don't know if that offense is going to get right anymore, but maybe for one game, they can get some points. Also, DeMeco Ryans. He knows Kyle Shanahan really well. He knows how to defend against the Shanahan system from the time together there. So I think that sets up well for Houston's defense. And then there was one stat that really caught my eye here. So you can look at kind of Pythagorean expectations, just kind of a fancy word for what are the underlying metrics telling us of how good a team should be. And they tell us that Houston's pretty good, better than some of the over numbers tell us. Even against Seattle, we just watched that game. It was ugly. It was gross. Houston's offense, terrible against a great defense. But Houston's defense was pretty good. They're hanging in these games. They're playing kind of all right. So from week 5 forward, teams with a Pythagorean plus or minus of 35% or better. This does not happen very often. Those teams are 17-6 against the spread, 74%. This is Houston, by the way, covering by 9.3 points a game. And now talk about crazy small samples. I know I'm the king of yelling about small samples, but within that, only 7 times has that team been the favorite. Those teams are 7-0 ATS by 22 points a game. And what's crazy is all of those games came in October, which kind of makes sense. It's when you're just played enough to be a little bit underrated and we haven't quite caught on yet. There's wins by 15, 24, 34, 38, and 49 points from these teams like Houston that are like, yeah, man, you're kind of good, but you sure mess up a lot of stuff. So look at the two teams. Over the last calendar year, the Niners have 10 losses. 6 of the 10 are by double digits. Average margin of defeat, 13 points a game. Last calendar year, Houston, only 8 wins, 4 of the 8, half of them by double digits. Average margin of victory, 16 points a game. When it goes Houston's direction, when it goes against San Fran's direction, it really goes. Even in the Texans' 2 wins this year, they won by 26 and by 34. So I'm not taking Houston minus 1.5, plus 1.5, whatever 1.5 is out there. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. Minus 110, too many weird injuries for me to mess with it. I am going to play it more aggressively with 2 alternate Texans spreads. Texans minus 9.5, so 10-point double-digit win is plus 320, and Texans 20-point win or better, minus 19.5, 12-1. It sounds crazy, but I think the Niners are due for a collapse down the stretch here. I talked about them for missing the playoffs, plus 335. I think they are ready to kind of get exposed in a game against a good team. And I think maybe this is kind of a sneakily good team still, at least on one side of the ball, and could really expose the Niners if things go their way. So Texans by double digits, plus 320, and by 20 or more points, 12-1. In case we're right, we hope we'll be really right on the Texans this week.
I don't say this frequently, but this is brilliant because I was kind of on the favorites earlier. We were talking about San Francisco and Houston, and everyone was into the fact that Houston was the right side we wanted to be on. But it feels dirty having to lay the 1.5 without Nico. This is the way to probably buy in when, you might lose the bet, but if it's a close game, you were kind of wrong in the first place. Right. Because San Francisco probably shouldn't have been in that game in that situation. Based off the defense and the way they played against Houston, against Atlanta, you almost feel like they're due for the letdown. Here's the stat. It's crazy. Since Christmas of 2023, the 49ers are 1-13 against the spread after a straight-up win. Having to actually look at that. And then you look at this season, none of the games have been, blowouts by any mean, but last few games after their wins, they've come down to earth. Jacksonville, Arizona, some of these games been really close. I think this is kind of the demarcation point where something could happen here. Also, this one's crazy. Since the beginning of 2020, Niners have played 16 games at 1 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast. Okay, EST or CST. They've been favored in all 16 games. They come across the country. The 49ers have a great roster, a really talented offense, Brock Purdy. That's kind of the way they've been. This is not the same team, and the market's kind of telling you that. So I'm with you on Houston. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun game, and hopefully it's not a fun game. Hopefully it's a terrible game that we have to bury down our list on Sunday night because the Texans just took them out behind the woodshed. But yeah, we've gone deep on these games. I'm excited for us to finally get into our NFL Hallmark holiday, National Tight Ends Day, with our lightning round. You ready to talk some tight ends?
Let's do it. You take it on. Just do the whole thing. You don't need me here.
So yeah, last year, this stupid holiday that every year I get to Red Zone at like 2 p.m. and I'm like, oh yeah, this again. Why does no one tell me until Sunday? I'm supposed to be betting all these. This year I'm ready. I'm ready with tight ends. So if you like fake holidays, I got some tight ends for you. Last year in the early slate, 8 games, 10 tight end touchdowns. Where were the bets? Where were the bets? I need to know this is coming. So this year we're ready. Only Trey McBride, bye week. Brock Bowers, bye week, sucks this year anyway. Sam Laporta, bye week. Travis Kelce on Monday. It's tight ends day, not tight ends week. I don't think that counts necessarily.
No, he counts. He counts. Put him in.
All right. Well, we'll get to that one maybe on our Sunday night preview for Monday. So first game, I'm going Packers-Steelers Sunday Night Football. Look, we already last week got from Chris Collinsworth National Running Backs Day. We made a new holiday again with McCaffrey. So he's going to be talking about Tight Ends Week and Tight Ends Day, Tight Ends Month, whatever they get to celebrate. It's happening Sunday night. We already did the rah-rah hot read on Steelers, Moneyline, and ATS. It's the Rodgers game. Did you know, by the way, last time the Packers won in Pittsburgh was 1970 somehow? Man, that's a crazy stat. I think this is the best tight end betting game on the schedule. So I'm betting the tight end on both teams. Pittsburgh and Green Bay allow top 3 points per game, 2 tight ends in fantasy. So this is the spot. So start with my favorite of all these tight end bets is Tucker Kraft. I think this is a breakout season for Tucker. He's scored a touchdown 4 of 6 games already. He leads the team in touchdowns. He led the team in touchdowns last year receiving. Pittsburgh, top 10 most touchdowns allowed to tight ends last year and again this year as well. We already saw a primetime game with the Packers Thursday night against Washington. He had a huge game that game, and our guy scored on Tight Ends Day last year. I think he likes this holiday. Tucker Kraft, plus 165. And if you like 2 touchdowns, I think that's in play with him, 14-1 for that. Now, the flip side is a lot trickier because I want a Steelers tight end, but Evan, who do I want? There's like 4 dudes on this team to pick between.
Correct.
So Packers have allowed the opposing tight end 1 to put up 38 catches, 324 yards, and 4 scores already in only 6 games. They've allowed 6 and 65 in 4 of them. They've allowed a tight end touchdown in 5 of the 6. That's all great. Pittsburgh lives in 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field. They've had 6 tight end touchdowns already. They had 4 last game. But which guy are we supposed to play? Jonnu Smith, I think, is the guy who's going to play the most snaps. He's usually around like 70%. I was looking at receptions. He's had 3 catches or more all but 1 game, but we're at 3.5. It's juiced to the over. Only 3 of his 26 targets in the red zone. Pat Freiermuth, he's kind of out of the rotation-ish. Weirdly, 3 red zone targets. Darnell Washington. Now that's a tight end. Can't you just hear Chris Collinsworth talking about 6'7", 265? Jim, let me tell you about National Tight Ends Day. Darnell Washington. That's our guy. 4 red zone targets, leads the team for tight ends. 4 of his 14. His snap count has gone from 40-ish% the first 3 games to almost 80% the last 3. And his targets mostly come in the red zone because he's like a cheat code. He's a monster dude out there that they're just like, hey, post up and we'll just throw you a jump ball and try to have you catch it. He caught a 2-pointer against Seattle earlier this year. He's just that dude. So we're hoping like get down to the 1 or 2 and just Aaron throw it up to Darnell and see what he can do. So Darnell Washington touchdown plus 375. And if we're going to get crazy, this is just a terrible number. 2 touchdowns for him is 55-1. If we're going to get the 1, we may as well play the second. And if you want just the Sunday night touchdown for tight end, Kraft and Darnell together is plus 1150. If you want both of them to get 2 touchdowns, I told you we're going to have some fun parlays, 839-1 for both dudes to get 2 touchdowns. What a way to end National Tight Ends Day together.
There's just no way we accurately predict which Steelers tight end has the big day. I feel like DraftKings should offer like any Steelers tight end first touchdown, or like do something really fun there because picking between these ends, it is Sunday Night Football, so this is going to get a ton of attention. And I feel like the tight end is like a great play in this game with both of the quarterbacks as well.
Yep.
Kraft on one side, obviously, but the other side, Rodgers does love his tight end. The way I was going to bet this with the tight ends with you is I was going to do a fun exacta box. Well, what do I mean by exacta box? Well, I want to do first touchdown, anytime touchdown with Darnell and Kraft, but I just want both sides. So I'll take them both. First touchdown and anytime touchdown, exacta box.
I like it.
Just see how it goes there. All right, let's keep rolling here. You're looking at tight ends. And yeah, just to be clear, National Tight Ends Day Lightning Round. This is all about the tight ends. Enjoy it. Next game, Jets, Bengals. What are you doing here with there's basically two tight ends. I think
that's pretty much the plan. So Jets tight ends, Jets Bengals tight ends, sure, they're in there too. Bengals are 6.5 point favorites. We're sure, like one game now the Bengals are good again. I think again, similar to some of these other longer teams, I think there's some value on the Jets. I think this should be like a field goal spread. So I'm going to nibble the plus 260 on the Jets. I just think some of these long underdogs are going to get home this week. So Jets money line. But I think for the daytime, this is your other best tight end game. So these teams have allowed the Bengals 9 touchdowns to tight ends and the Jets 6. That is first and second most in the NFL. 9 is a lot. Like, we're in mid-October. We keep betting against tight ends against Carolina. They give up 11 last season, the whole season. Bengals have given up 9 already. So we're going to play both tight ends in this game. We'll start with the Bengals tight end. Noah Fant, I think, is my maybe second favorite of the day behind Tucker Kraft because there's no one else there anymore. Mike Gesicki's on IR. Tanner Hudson's in concussion protocol. We know the Jets are going to at least try to cover Chase and T. I'm not sure how they will do, especially if Sauce is out. But Fant seems to be playing well with Flacco. We know how Flacco loves his tight end, right? We always play tight ends with the Browns, with whoever all the Flacco teams bet the tight ends. Last game for Fant, 4 catches, 44 yards and a score, his best of the season. So Noah Fant plus 325 for a touchdown. And then Mason Taylor, that's the name you want on the Jets. Rookie tight end, no touchdown yet. So we're gonna get the guy his first career touchdown. The Bengals in the last 3 games have allowed 7 tight end touchdowns already. They allowed 10 last year. That was second most, the number 1 fantasy points allowed per game. And with the Jets, Garrett Wilson is out. So Mason Taylor is like maybe their go-to receiving target right now. We hopefully get not Justin Fields. That can't hurt. Taylor to Taylor, Tyrod to Mason. Let's get a touchdown on the board, plus 260. I will say, just as we hit record, I saw Mason Taylor pop up on the injury report, so maybe keep an eye on that. But if you want those two together in just this game, Mason Taylor and Noah Fanta, whatever we want to call him, Noah in the end zone, plus 1430 on a touchdown parlay for those two.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like Fant better here. I think it's the obvious reasons. I mean, the Jets even getting into the end zone feels like a long shot in itself at this point. But I think the fun bet on Mason Taylor, and I don't see this up yet, but first team touchdown. Like, I don't really want to mess with anything that happens on the Bengals side of this. But when the Jets get down there, that's the ticket I think that would be fun to have in a team that can't figure out how to get in the end zone. Maybe they find him. So that was
first team touchdown might be only team touchdown with the Jets, Correct. Too. You might have a wide berth on that one.
Well, it's funny you say that. Maybe you do want to put a few bucks on first and last as well if you're betting with Mason Taylor, because you can probably get a really high ticket there on anybody if the Jets or if there's 1 touchdown of the game.
Sure.
How you know how that works. All right, let's keep rolling here. Giants, Eagles. Which damn tight end are you going with here?
Theo Johnson is my guy. So Theo Johnson has been Jackson Dart's guy too. First 3 games of the season before Dart went in, 6 catches, 49 yards combined in 3 games. Now, Jackson Dart's playing. Theo's his guy. 3.5 catches a game, 36 yards, 6 targets a game, and 4 starts with Jackson Dart, 4 touchdowns. Now, one of those was that kind of fluky tip drill against Denver last week, but still, he's been a clear go-to guy. He's over half of Jackson Dart's touchdowns, and 9 of his 23 targets this season have been in the red zone. So this is a guy everyone was excited about before the season for the Giants. Now, I think we're getting some value at plus 350 because why is this guy priced so high when he's scoring so often? Well, they're playing the Eagles. He's scored in 3 of the 4 Jackson Dart games. The one he didn't, was the one they beat the Eagles, because the Eagles are really, really good against tight ends. So maybe that's not the angle here, but it's tight ends day. And we like Theo. He's been playing well. It's plus 350. It's a little dart throw, if you will.
Unbelievable. Yes, Philly is number one versus tight ends in DVOA. I was going to mention that, but honestly, that means absolutely nothing when you're looking for one target in the red zone. You're not asking him to do anything across the field or anything of that nature. So I like it. The other thing I'll say is, you've been going ones and twos with some of these bets. Theo Johnson, 39-1 for two. Does seem kind of fun when he's a target for darts. I was also looking at Bellinger, but I don't know. I prefer Theo Johnson. He's just getting a lot more looks, so I completely get it. All right, this is probably the most fun thing you can talk about right now, because it feels like this guy you're talking about now is going to score a touchdown, and everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, he's a tight end. Who do you like in the Saints game?
It's got to be Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill against the Saints. Sorry, Taysom Hill for the Saints. I think I put that one in the spreadsheet backwards. Taysom Hill, whoever he's playing for, he's playing for our producer, David Payne from BYU. Loves Taysom Hill. Let's get him in the end zone here. I really wanted Tampa Bay here, but man, the injuries on this game is just everywhere. Everywhere on Tampa Bay is injured. Too much to mess with. But I think the tight end touchdown works. Bucs have allowed, tied for fourth most tight end touchdowns. We've played them because they're bad against short and over the middle. That's tight end area. Taysom's never had a rushing touchdown against the Bucs, despite all the games every year, but he does catch them against them. 2 of the last 3 games, he's caught a touchdown. And look, most tight ends, we don't get 2 ways to score a touchdown. Taysom Hill is the cheat code. In fact, we get 3 ways, except not really. He could throw one in, but we don't get credit for that one. We need you to not throw, Taysom. Run or catch. That's all you get to do. He has scored a touchdown in 9 of his last 21 games. That's 43%. That would imply plus 133. We're getting plus 250 on a touchdown. It's not a huge number, but that's about 2x the payout. Kendre Miller is out. That frees up about a third of their red zone carries. Maybe that's just a Taysom Hill power run as well. And the key thing with Taysom, you said this, when doing some 1 and 2 touchdowns, when it's a Taysom game, it's usually really a Taysom Hill game. If it's a good matchup, it's a great matchup. So 9 of 21 games with a touchdown, but multiple touchdowns in 3 of those 9, including a 3-touchdown game. The Bucs have already allowed 2 multi-touchdown games to a tight end this season and 2 last season. So this one is not a sprinkle. This is mandatory. If you're playing Taysom Hill plus 250, put half your bet, half of it, not a sprinkle, on 2 touchdowns, 22-1. With Taysom, if you're going to go in, you got to go all in. And frankly, I probably should have checked the price for 3 just in case, because that's my own medicine right there.
What do you think about Taysom to score and the Saints to win? 650.
Man, well, I've got the Bucs in my pick 6, so I think
got it.
I think the Bucs get over the line. Honestly, I don't know how I wouldn't feel terrible about Taysom to score, but Bucs to win just kind of as a negative correlation. Weird thing in this matchup, it's obviously a division rivalry. Only one of the last 18 matchups have been under 7 points. So basically, these aren't close games. Whoever wins, wins easily. And I just think the Bucs, even with their injuries, are so much better. So I like the Bucs here. I wanted to get there, but too many injuries to mess with. I don't mind the negative correlated one. I don't think I can get 2 Saints winning, but I know that was a top pick on 6-pack. I know it's going to be a popular one with sharps this week. I'm just more Tampa Bay side.
Yeah, your side's plus 450. Nothing wrong with that. The stat I had, which is absolutely crazy, since week 5, the only person to have a carry for the Saints inside the 5-yard line, Taysom Hill. So that is the situation, and they will be giving him the ball most likely in that scenario. All right. 2 games left here. So Bills-Panthers, I feel like for a tight end game is kind of intriguing because like Pittsburgh, Buffalo has a million options they can go to. So how do you want to divvy this one up?
Man, I kind of like this matchup for the Panthers. Like, I really wanted to get there on a Panthers pick. The Bills are off the bye week, though. They're off a 2-game losing streak. Like, they really have to get this one. But here's the matchup. The Bills are the number 32 run defense by DVOA. And that's what the Panthers want to do, is just pound you in the run game. And Carolina's run defense has been really good this season. And the Bills want to run the football. So I think they could hang in. We gave the stat last week. First 8 games, home dogs of 7 or more, 19-2-1 ATS now, 95% cover rate, almost 10 points a game. So, like some of the other games, I'm going to play the Panthers money line, plus 320. I'm going to play a little bit on it. But I have one last tight end for you here. It's not the guy you think. Nope, it's not the other guy either. His name is Jackson Haas. He's the third tight end for Buffalo. It looks like Kincaid probably will play this week. And look, we've been betting tight ends against the Panthers all year. They gave up 11 touchdowns last year. They've given up 4 already this year to names such as Foster Moreau, Ben Sinnott, Nate Adkins, Noah Gray, Payne Durham, Hunter Long. These are blocking tight ends. These are the guys down the depth chart. Jackson Haas is the number 2 PFF graded tight end, and he is an elite run pass blocker. He is not a pass catcher. He's got 4 targets in the season. He's caught them all, and 3 of the 4 have been in the red zone, and 1 of them was for a touchdown. Dawson Knox, we talked about last week, he played 81% of the snaps because Kincaid was out. He only got 1 catch anyways. So I think the value is down the board with Jackson Haas. I needed 1 super tight end long shot, plus 625 for our guy. And frankly, that could get a little bit longer if Kincaid is ruled in. So I don't mind if you want to wait. And then the coup de grace, Evan, if you play all 7 tight ends together for 1 touchdown each, as I put it in just now before we hit record, it's 21,575 to 1. So put a buck on that if you want, and let's see if we can just call our shot on National Tight Ends Day and hit all 7 of them somehow.
All 7 tight ends. Yeah, that parlay, I'm not even going to try to say that number, but I encourage you to click on it and put your dollar on it because that's going to be a fun show if that one hits. The only other tight end I was looking at in Buffalo, Carolina, so Jatavian Sanders is coming back, should be in this game, which I think is making Tommy Tremble's number a little bit higher than it should be. And I think I like Dalton to go there. He's 7 to 1. So if you want to have some fun, the 7 to 1 with his Haas is 60 to 1. In terms of that game. So that might be something you want to sprinkle on there. But that's the fun. That is our tight end section. Brandon gave his 7 tight ends and a few picks there. Now we are going to look ahead to week 9. You have your look ahead. So last week's look ahead, Minnesota Vikings getting 3.5, which is kind of nice, down to 3 in most spots. He got the hook there. What are you doing in week 9?
Yeah, hopefully by the time folks listen, hopefully we'll have a winner on that one. I'm getting ready, throwing my tater tot hot dish in the oven right as we finish this podcast up for the Vikings game tonight. Next week, no Thursday. We're going to Sunday night. Seahawks at Commanders. Give me Seattle -2.5. So this week we got the right side of the key number. Hopefully we're getting the right side next week as well. Seattle's on a bye week. Washington plays Monday night. We're going to have to talk about that game on Sunday. But Washington is like a 12-point underdog right now. They're probably going to get demolished by the Chiefs on a national audience Monday night game. So I think this line could easily get past the key number. Right now, with all the Washington injuries, I make this Seattle 7.5. So not even close to 2.5. Now, Right now it's not totally fair. Jane Daniels might play. We'll see. Hamstrings are not usually a 1-week injury. So maybe we get him, but we get a lesser version of him. Maybe he tries to play, but doesn't finish the game. He's had multiple leg injuries now, and all 3 receivers are still hurt. It looks like a couple of them are practicing now, but I think this ends up somewhere in the middle of my projection versus the number, maybe like a 4 or a 5. I don't know if it quite gets that high, but that's where my numbers will have it. I have Washington 22nd in my power ratings. I have Seattle top 5. I think this is a really good football team that we keep playing week after week. And we didn't get to play them this week because they're on bye, so I had to find a different spot to play Seattle. I think they shut down Washington's run game, and I think Seattle can pass on this team as well. So Seattle -2.5 below the key number. And hopefully by then, we'll be rich with all of our tight ends money and just be coasting into week 9. And man, week 9, crazy, halfway through the football season.
Yeah, a winner and some CLV, kind of all you can ask for on a Thursday. All right, that'll do it here on the Action Hour podcast for our NFL Week 8 Best Bets episode presented by DraftKings. If you want instant notifications when action experts track their bets, go to actionhour.com/pro. Use the promo code POD20, POD20 for $20 off a year of Action Pro. And if you haven't yet, check out our new AI Quick Slip bot on X. Just tag Playbook @Playbook and tell it to grab whatever bets you're looking for, and it'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds. And again, if you want to tell us some of the bets we gave out today, make sure to look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionhour.com/betnow, BETNOW, bet now. We will be back Sunday night for our NFL recap show after Sunday Night Football. That'll be live on Action Network's YouTube page. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the slate. Good luck with all your bets this weekend. Let's catch some tickets. Let's catch some tickets. Multiple. Let's go.